There's a unique kind of trust, a silent agreement we make every time we step onto a plane. We trust the laws of physics, the skill of the pilots, and we trust the name on the side of the fuselage. For over half a century, one name was the signature on that agreement, a name that represented the very pinnacle of American engineering.
At the same time, at this point, about 6 million pounds are being moved straight up.
They didn't just build planes, they built the machines that shrank the planet. They helped put a man on the moon. Boeing. Their name wasn't just a brand, it was a gold standard for safety. It was a belief etched into the mind of the global traveler. But what happens when that trust shatters at 30,000 feet? How does a company that defined excellence become a symbol of corporate greed, catastrophic failure, and promises broken? To understand the fall, we first have to remember the glory. For decades, Boeing was less of a company and more of a cathedral for engineers. The culture was simple. It was run by engineers for engineers. And their goal wasn't just profit, it was perfection. They overbuilt everything. They ran thousands of tests. The iconic 737, first flown in 1967, had its fuselage tested to withstand metal fatigue for over 75,000 flight cycles. A standard that wouldn't even become a federal requirement for another 2 decades. This obsession with quality created legends. The 747, the jumbo jet, was so audacious, the company literally bet everything they had to build it. It was an engineering marvel that defined air travel for half a century. And the world trusted it implicitly because the people who built it were building it for themselves. For their families, safety wasn't a line item on a budget sheet, it was a religion. But then something changed. A single event that would poison the well. It didn't happen in a factory or on a runway. It happened in a boardroom. In 1997, Boeing acquired its ailing rival, McDonnell Douglas. On paper, Boeing was the winner. In reality, many insiders say it was a reverse takeover.
A lot of months of planning, a lot of hard work, a lot of consultation and negotiations. The merger of Boeing and McDonnell Douglas is now complete. This is our first day as a single company.
McDonnell Douglas was a defense contractor. Their culture wasn't about commercial passengers, it was about government contracts and, crucially, cost cutting. Their executives were known for being ruthless with numbers. Suddenly, the engineers who ran Boeing were being replaced by accountants and MBAs from McDonnell Douglas. The headquarters was moved from Seattle, the heart of its engineering soul, to Chicago, far away from the factory floor. The language changed. It was no longer about building the best planes. It was about achieving shareholder value, optimizing cash flow, lean manufacturing. To the engineers on the ground, it felt like a betrayal. The cathedral of engineering Zay was being turned into a bank. And this new culture would lead to one of the most catastrophic decisions in aviation history. The pressure was on. Boeing's European rival Airbus had a hit with their new fuel-efficient A320neo. Boeing was losing orders and they needed an answer fast. Instead of designing a brand new plane from scratch, the old Boeing way, the new Boeing took a shortcut, a fatal shortcut. They decided to just update the 50-year-old 737 airframe with bigger, more fuel-efficient engines. But these new engines changed the plane's aerodynamics. They made the nose pitch up in certain situations, a dangerous flaw. So they created a software fix, a secret piece of code called MCAS. This software would automatically push the plane's nose down if it sensed a problem. But here's the critical part. Driven by the new cost-cutting culture, Boeing made 2 disastrous decisions. One, they designed MCAS to rely on a single sensor, a single point of failure. And 2, they hid it from the pilots. They didn't even mention MCAS in the flight manuals. Why? To save money, to avoid the cost of expensive new simulator training for pilots. And then the unthinkable happened. The single sensor failed. MCAS, thinking the plane was stalling, forced the nose down. The pilots fought back, pulling the yoke, but they were fighting a ghost in the machine. A ghost they didn't even know existed. 189 people lost. 5 months later, it happened again. Same plane, same faulty sensor, same secret software. 346 lives gone. The promise was shattered. The fallout was catastrophic. Investigations revealed a broken safety culture, where employees were pressured to ignore warnings and where profits were prioritized over people. But the story doesn't end there. The problems seem to continue. In June of 2025, tragedy struck again. This time, it wasn't a 737 MAX. It was a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, one of the company's most advanced aircraft. Air India Flight 171 crashed moments after taking off from Ahmedabad, killing 241 of the 242 people on board, plus dozens on the ground. It was the first fatal crash for a 787 Dreamliner, raising terrifying new questions. Was the 737 MAX disaster not an isolated incident, but a symptom of a much deeper disease within the company? In conclusion, a legacy in question. The story of Boeing isn't just about one faulty piece of software or one tragic crash. It's the story of a cultural decay. A story of what happens when a company forgets why it exists. They used to be builders, pioneers, they built cathedrals to the sky, but somewhere along the way they were convinced by men in suits that the balance sheet was more important than the blueprint. Boeing's journey serves as a chilling reminder. For any company in any industry, that trust is built over decades, but can be lost in an instant. And the cost of that loss is measured in more than just dollars. The future of Boeing is still uncertain. Can the company ever regain the trust it lost? Or is this the final chapter for an American icon? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the biggest stories in business, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next case study.